Hey everybody, it's your pal Mike Zombie, and this week we're going to talk about Zombie Hell House, or its other title, The House by the Cemetery. This is an older film, one most people have seen. I'll read the synopsis, and this was the more English version. There's multiple versions, as I found out today. Norman takes over the work of a dead colleague, Mr. Peterson, of his. Boy, that's really written shitty. Mr. Peterson you should see the punctuation. Mr. Peterson killed himself while he was busy on a research. Okay. All right, this is funny. I'm going to read this exactly as written on IMDb, and I'll pause for the impact of the punctuation I'm reading. And my punctuation is shitty, so I'm not saying that. Norman, let me start over. I'm not going to edit. This is going to be funny. Norman takes over the work of a dead colleague, Mr. Peterson, of his. Mr. Peterson killed himself while he was busy on a research about a certain Dr. Freudstein. Norman moves into the Freudstein house with its wife and son. But something is not all right in the creepy mansion. Especially the basement seems to hide some cruel mystery. Holy shit. All right. As stated, this is a bit of an older film, and it's getting 6.1 stars out of 10 from 6,000 people. I think that's fucking outrageous, personally. I love old Italian horror, old Euro horror, shitty and trashy Euro horror. And it's because of the name, all right? Lucio Fulci was a visionary. You skip down the titles of what Lucio has done, and you have to give any film that he makes credit just for, okay, I've got to see it. It's Fulci. Now, if I'm recalling right, I think Fulci passed in 1996. But he did leave us with a whole lot of movies that he made. My favorite of which, I don't mind telling you, is Zombie. And I reviewed that on another episode. I really do believe 6.1 stars is high, but fuck it, 6,000 people disagree with me. That's absolutely okay. This, to me, is, in a larger sense, The Shining. If you took the ghost aspects out of The Shining and just filled it with zombie goodness, you would have the same movie almost in many ways. The synopsis, so broken and kind of misguided, kind of walked along the line of what the film's about. Norman Boyle, who's a doctor, is picking up the research for, I think, a university. I didn't quite pick up on that. Of someone he knew, a researcher who'd hung himself. So he packs up his family, and they go out, I believe, from New York to Boston. Not in the city, but off into the woods. And they go to a very lovely house that's cursed. Now, many people call this the Freudstein house, which it is. And Freudstein was a doctor who had gone mad. And we get the feeling in the beginning, as they're picking up the keys and doing the paperwork from the real estate agent, that this place has just got a really fucked history. And they don't want to talk about it. Let's just move you in. We haven't had a chance to clean it, so it's going to be lots of stuff for you guys to do to get it ready. Now, their little boy, Bob, and if you've seen this film, I hope you appreciate it like I did, as they hop in the family truckster to go to Wally World, and they make the trip from New York to Boston. And they leave the boy, Bob, in the back of the car. This is back when you could leave your kids in the car and just take the fuck off and handle your business and come back, and the kid would probably still be there. And the little boy has this weird connection to a girl that he actually, I'm sorry, I went too far. He's looking at a picture of a house in their house on the wall, and he sees a girl standing in the window, and she's talking to him. Don't come to the house. Don't come to the house. And, of course, it's a picture hanging on the wall, so his mother completely just disregards it. And as they get to Boston, I'm caught back up, they're picking up the keys from the realtor, and suddenly the girl is about a block behind the boy, and she's talking to him telepathically. And the parents come out, and he's off in the park playing with her doll. You know what they say about that. Anyway, it's a fucking joke. Calm down. So they go to the house, and it turns out it's the house this little girl was looking out from the picture. It's the same house. No one seems to pick up on it right away, not even the little boy, and he probably should have. But the house is just fucked. It's completely in disrepair. On the inside, water's not working, so forth. And so right away, Norman tries to get everybody comfortable. Hey, come on. All right, you guys, you're going to love it here. You're going to go explore. You're going to hike. You're going to goof off. And I'm going to do my research, and everything's going to be great. We know it's not going to be great. And this movie takes a lot of goddamn time getting to the gore. But I will say the movie is excessively bloody. Now, I was speaking with a certain man, I won't mention who he is, John Berdinsky, earlier today, And I said, hey, make sure you listen to this week's podcast. I'm reviewing Zombie Hell House. And he's like, oh, do you have the Italian version? I have it on Blu-ray, and there's a lot more gore. And my reply was simple. No, it's all in English. And honestly, it's on a compilation, and it looks like someone just downloaded a DivX file and converted it to DVD. It looks really shitty. So I will be looking to pick this up in a Blu-ray version at the next convention I go to. That's the story of the house claiming people. A babysitter shows up who's not a real babysitter. And I am a bit confused on this because she shows up, she's kooky because she is a representation of a mannequin we saw that was beheaded earlier on. So we know something's not right. And she's walking around the house like a kook. And they're like, cool, I guess you can stay here and babysit. Don't even know you. And you don't really speak to anyone. But sure, stay with our family. It's not a problem. And as murders happen in this house, some weird zombie thing comes out, drags them down to the basement. And we see this lady and the babysitter mopping up the blood. So I'm thinking she's covering for either the house or the zombie or something. And at least maybe I didn't catch it or wasn't paying enough attention. It really never became clear. I was kind of pulled back on this version because I immediately, after talking to the name, he will remain, the name we don't say, Voldemort, once he let me know there was a better version of this, I really believe I saw this years ago. And some of it was familiar, but I've lost a lot of that. So I do want to see it in an excessively violent version with added footage later on. So I was kind of pulled back on this and not as into it as I should have been, to be honest, for a Fulci film, to be honest with you. I'm trying to figure out Anne's role. I'm thinking she's linked to the house. And the little girl, May, that Bob keeps seeing, he keeps playing with her outside. No one can see her. She's some type of apparition. But we sense that she's good because she keeps telling Bob, don't go in the house. Don't go in the house. He's kind of like Carl, where Carl stay in the house. It's like, Bob, don't go in the house. It's the yin to the yang of that. Norman is learning through the research that he's backtracking on that there's something wrong with the house. Of course, he comes to that conclusion and comes to the crescendo of, oh my God, my family's in danger. Far too late. As the house has claimed, well, one girl early on who was there with her boyfriend is looking for a place to bone, which was interesting. The real estate lady who came back, I guess, to try to get them a different house, pulled her to the floor. And then, strangely enough, claims Anne the babysitter. And that struck me as weird because we thought she was protecting and hiding that element. I still don't really understand her role, if I'm to be completely honest with you. And the family tries to get out. And the mother, Lucy, is just... she's a wreck. 1 minute she's freaking out and screaming. The next minute she's cool with the house. And she's not trusting her instincts that this house is fucking possessed. So in the end, boy gets trapped downstairs because because the boy actually sees Anne. Well, he doesn't see her die. He's trying to rescue her. But as he goes down the stairs into this basement where the zombie is living, he walks past apparently her dead body and severed head. And suddenly the head rolls down after him and he freaks out, as a little boy will. Tries to get back upstairs and is stuck inside. Now, Jack Nicholson is coming through with an axe. Wait, no, that's the other movie that was very similar to this that I thought was far superior. But I have a special love for these type of films. But hey, this was very similar to The Shining. Oh, and there's a lot of ripoffs here, and we're going to talk about that coming up. But mother says, no, Anne didn't really die. She was playing. She took her head off just to amuse you. So mother's goofing off upstairs, and Bob goes back down to where absolute death is, going, I know you're down here, Anne. Mom said you weren't really dead. Of course, zombies there. Kid gets stuck. Lucy comes down to free him, tries everything in the world, though the door is opening a little bit each time. She keeps sticking small objects through trying to pry it open when she could probably just headbutt the fucker open, but she doesn't. And ta-da! Guess who suddenly shows up? Norman. And he also hits the door with small things in his shoulder and tries all these little moves that aren't working. The boy's screaming, it's coming for me, it's coming for me. So, of course, instead of kicking the fucking door down, Norman stops for a minute to explain to his wife, you know what? God damn it, Bob, will you stop screaming like a little bitch behind the door? You know what, honey? This house turns out is haunted. I was listening to the research from the doctor, and this house, it claims bodies. And downstairs, there's a zombie, the one that's about to eat our son. And people come here and die. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? So He then tries to hack down the door with the world's smallest kindling hatchet, and it's not real convincing. They go down, they get the door open, they go downstairs because the zombies pulled the boy down onto the floor, and the father walks up, and he might as well have challenged this giant zombie to a breakdancing competition to get the boy back, because he sure the fuck didn't really try to fight him. Problem is, the zombie, who appears to have only one hand, but it's a real strong hand, is somehow using the bodies that he claims to keep himself alive. It's Freudstein. But they don't explain how. Is he drinking the blood? Is he eating the flesh? We see the real estate lady kind of hung up on spikes, but she doesn't appear, she's just dead. Is he taking some kind of supernatural essence, some aura? Fuck if I know. I don't really know. So, father gets in some kind of bullshit punching match with a zombie, and zombie grabs his throat and rips it out, and it looks really good. Gore in this movie was fantastic. I really want to see the Blu-ray version. Gore was great. So father drops down dead. Lucy grabs Bob, run up the stairs, and they try to get through this little, it's almost like a coffin exit. There's like a marker in the living room for the wife. It looks like a coffin lid. It's just a way to get down to the basement. And she's trying to push through that, and the zombie says nope, comes up and grabs her by the feet and pulls her down, and her head goes bong, 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 loudly, bong, 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 down every single step to the bottom as she's getting killed. That was kind of funny. I got a laugh out of that. So little Bob, of course, scrapes to the very top at the last moment, is pulled out by his hair by little May, and saves the day. Zombies downstairs going, oh, and May's mother, who is also an apparition, shows up and says, all right, it's time to go. And I told you, leave him alone. So the mother takes her and the boy, Bobby, whatever, and starts to walk back into this room where you hear children crying. And you hear these kids crying in the house mysteriously all throughout the film. And it doesn't really explain. So I'm thinking that this happens so often, and little kids are involved so often, that May tries to save them all because she apparently died herself as a child. And her mother, always in the end, takes the little kids back to a room where they're kind of maybe in limbo. They're in that transitional phase between life and death. So their cries will forever be heard, but they'll have to stay in that area. If you like this film, and I did, as much as I was lackluster on it, I did like this film. You know, I love these types of films. If you like this, you're really going to enjoy House with a Morgue from the Cult of Moy and Val's Film Produzione Company. It's coming, but a lot of it is taken directly from this film. It's such a great send up to it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the extended version, the full version. So, and I know Tom loves this film too, which is why I let him know. So, Fulci is a master of horror. There's a handful of masters: Fulci, Barker, King. Some people would say Wes Craven. I don't necessarily agree. Argento, Romero. There's a bunch of names. Actually, a lot of names that we could go to for masters of horror, and Fulci certainly is counted among that list. This film, to me, would be a borrow if you like zombie films. If you don't like zombie films, I wouldn't bother at all, to be honest. This is a buy for people like me that are into old Italian zombie films or just crazy, doesn't always make the most sense Euro zombie films, horror films. It's a buy. Or just, it doesn't have to be a special buy. You can probably get it on Amazon or through Xbox or those kind of things. It might even be on, I don't know if it's on Netflix. Might be. But check out all the versions. I plan on it. Thanks to Tom for letting me know. Yeah, so on the Brudzinski scale, it's a borrow. Not necessarily a buy. I think a lot of people wouldn't enjoy it like I do. So, anyways, that's what I've got for this week. So we will talk to you soon.